Welcome, friends, to the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and I'm here to help you become the guitar player that you always wanted to be. Do you like playing rhythm guitar? I love it. Even though we spend a lot of time on lead guitar, when I play in a band or if I go to a jam night, it's rhythm guitar that gets the majority of my attention. I feel the challenge when I play. Does this rhythm part have to be boring? Does it have to be repetitive over and over again? Can I do something different? Can I support the song in a way that adds to it? Can I build interest by changing up my chords, changing up my rhythms, doing these things as I go, calling an audible as I play? Sounds an awful lot like the questions I ask myself when I'm improvising a lead. So can you do this? Can you improvise on rhythm guitar? Of course you can. Yes, it's fantastic. What do you need to do to be able to improvise a blues rhythm guitar part? That's the big question for today. What do you need? You need knowledge of the blues, right? The common blues rhythms that you would use. You need to be able to stick with the harmony. What chord am I playing over, right? You need to be a little courageous, trying some different things. It's a lot of fun to do this. And you hear people, and not just in blues, in lots of different, you tell, oh, that's not the same strum pattern all along. They're improvising different strum patterns, right? So in this week's lesson, I gave 5 common blues rhythm figures. And all of these were over an E7 chord. Did them all in E. That's for you to practice. And then you can, once you learn it, you can put those into improv. So how do you do it? Let's go ahead and jump in. Let's talk about these basic rhythms. The first one I taught was the straight boogie pattern. So with this one, where you're playing really an E power chord, the open E string and the second fret on the A. And then I'm going back and forth between the second and the fourth frets, right? But it's the way I'm doing them. It's when it happens. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right on the beats, right on the eighth notes. That's called playing straight. There's a lot of blues songs that do this. Not every blues song is a shuffle. Right. So, High Heel Sneakers, one that you hear a lot of the Albert Collins songs, they have a straight beat. So they're good to dance to. Right. But, you've got this kind of boogie woogie pattern, and it comes from the left hand of a piano player who plays boogie woogie stuff. But then I went to the next one, but the next one is very similar to this. Looks almost identical. You have your open and your second fret on you get a little E power chord, right? You're going back and forth between the second and fourth fret. And then I added some other little embellishments in there, but it's not what I'm playing. It's when I'm playing. Here it is as a shuffle boogie pattern. Very different, right? You don't hear that too often. Both of them at the same. That would be kind of a cool song where you have a straight and then a shuffle kind of coming in and out of the song. Pretty neat idea. So that was the second one. The third one is a boogie pattern with embellishments. We're going to play the same boogie pattern. But on beat 4, at the end of the measure, especially at the end of the second measure and then the fourth measure before it comes around again, I added, in this instance, kind of an A chord and a G chord. An open or an A is at the second fret, first finger across, and then the G was the open strings on the D, G, and B string as well too. So I was playing the boogie pattern for a while, and then at the last beat, I added something interesting to keep it going, to keep it moving. Let's see here. Now, the next one is the open chord shuffle. So say you don't want to use a boogie pattern, right? Say you wanted something that's just straight chords. So what I did is I played an E dominant 7th chord. And I played a rhythm that matches, that fits with a shuffle, right? There I was going into the playing a blues there, right? Right, but what's the important thing? That's another one where it's when it happens. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So I'm playing on 1 and then the and of 2 and then letting it ring. I'm also got a 1, 2, and 3, 4. I'm also got a little open string down there to bring us into the next section. But that's, you can play that in. You hear it in a lot of different. You hear it in a lot of different songs. It's a cool rhythm and it fits really nicely with blues and shuffles and those things. And finally, the last one that I played was one that's probably familiar to all of you, the offbeat shuffle. Where I'm playing a low note on 1 and then on the end of 1 on an upstroke hitting the high strings. Sometimes right there I was just playing the B and the E string, but I could put my first finger on the first fret of the G. So it sounds like the top 3 notes of a E7 or just an E major chord. Pretty neat, right? That really fills in things really well. It's almost like drums, it fills in the offbeats there. And it's really nice. It's something Stevie Ray Vaughan used that a lot. You hear it in a lot of different styles. It's pretty popular now because of Stevie Ray Vaughan. But that offbeat shuffle there. So those are the basic rhythms that I share. These are all things that you can play down in open position. This was mainly for beginners to get used to this. But if you're someone who's been playing for a while, you may not play all of these. You might want to take a look at them there. So improvising. Mixing up, that's what this is all about, mixing, or maybe even altering the rhythms because you feel that they sound great. As you're playing along, you might call an audible. You might change one of your rhythm patterns. And we've got a couple different ways that we can go about doing that. The first way is from inside a progression, from chord to chord. You could switch things up every chord. You might say, I'm going to play the open chord and then maybe play one of the shuffles with an embellishment on the A chord, right? So moving from I'm playing this to I'm playing this every time a chord changes. And that can be pretty effective. I'm going to do an example of that in just a minute. One of the other ways that you could do this is from like sections of songs, right? So say you have... you might play the first time through has vocals over it. So you might be playing, sparse things. And then this next section might be the same chord, 12-bar blues, but it's a solo at that point. You might do all the boogie patterns and make a lot of noise with those things. The other way that you can change these is you could change these up in one chord. So start a chord one way, and then by the end of the chord come out another way, using another one of these basic rhythms there. So I'm going to have some examples right now showing you these things, right? So let's take a look at these. We're going to do 3 examples of mixing. The first one is going to be starting with a boogie pattern and then going to open. And let's do it first from chord to chord. So let's start off every measure we're going to switch. Okay. There it is right there. Sometimes we had a chord that lasted for 2 measures, that went across 2 measures. And I switched at that point. I said, okay, every measure I'm going to change. And that is actually during a chord. You could switch that as well too. So it's an example of both of those. Another example of, let's do the boogie pattern and then the offbeat pattern. So every time I was playing the E in the 12-bar blues, I was playing a boogie pattern. But then when I went to the other chords, that's when I did the offbeats, kind of like Pride and Joy or something like that. So really, really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. There's another, let's see, let's try a few more. How about in sections of a song? So let's say we'll do the first 4 measures of a 12-bar blues one way, and then when we go to the 4 chord, then we'll hit something different. So let's do these with embellishments. So I was using the embellishment on beat 4, adding a little chord movement there, and then went into just straight boogie patterns after that. There's all sorts of different things you can do, and these aren't the only basic rhythm figures. You hear these? You also hear that backwards. And that's in a shuffle right there. There's all sorts of different things that you can mix and match as you go. So, this is just a fun, it's kind of to spur you along to say, next time I play over a blues, I'm going to try some different rhythms. I'm not just going to play the same rhythm like this. So what this is all about really is getting you to think about this. Next time you're sitting with your guitar playing over a blues, don't just play the same thing all the time. Feel empowered to switch around. These are some examples for that. If you're an Academy member, I have the tab, the backing tracks, and all those things for these. It's up already right now. But, hey, this is something that's going to make you sound more interesting. It's going to make you sound pro when you can get these seamless there. So I enjoyed doing this lesson this week. I've been doing a lot of lead guitar, and this isn't rocket science. This is really basic stuff, but sometimes you just need someone to say, hey, you can do this. You can switch up when you're playing a blues. You don't have to stay with the same rhythm pattern. Before we go, I want to ask you a question. How are your chords doing? When you play them, are you getting clicks, buzzes? Are your fingers accidentally touching the other strings, muting notes that you didn't want to sound there? Do they just not sound right? If you're having any of those problems, head over to playguitaracademy.com. I actually have a link in the description. I have a free guide. It's my guide to clear sounding chords. This shows you all of the small adjustments that you can make to make sure that your chords come out clean. They sound very nice. They don't sound muted. They don't sound buzzy. And you can take these ideas for the chords that I demonstrated here and use them with all of your chords. You learned how to adjust your elbow, how your fingers can move around the strings to make room for all of them so you don't mute any of them out. Different ways of how your fingers come straight down. It's a cool little guide. And if you're having that problem, it's something that I would love for you to tell me all about after you get a chance to see it. And I'm going to call it today. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you have benefited from this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Leave a review. It's the best way to make sure that we get this very valuable podcast to more guitar players around the world. Does more help, structure, and results in your guitar playing sound good to you? It sounds good to me. And we're all over at Play Guitar Academy, 5 o'clock every Wednesday. And we have a great group. This is our Q&A session. We do a little lesson there each week too. And I would love to invite you over there to hang out and see, get your questions answered, and maybe we'll learn some stuff there too. So head on over to playguitaracademy.com/membership if that sounds good to you. And maybe I'll see you over there. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.